Hey everybody, we're live. We got looks like we had 8 people watching us now. I don't know where Spencer is. He must be running a little bit late this morning or this afternoon. But anyway, I appreciate everybody stopping in. Uh, today I think after the last video that I put out, there was a lot of interest in it, and people were asking different questions and things. And I thought a good topic for us. There he comes. Let me get him in here. There he is. Camera's running a little bit slower. I'm running slow, one or the other. But I thought it might be good. We talk about things that keep a relationship healthy. So things like what happened. Hey, Spencer, how you doing, buddy?
Hello, guys.
Hey. So something like what happened to my friend there doesn't happen to anybody else. I mean, granted, it can and it could and it probably will happen to more people. But with there's some things you can do. A lot of things you can do to protect yourself from something like that happening. And but the best thing for really is for it to not happen in the first place. But one of the things that I have always stressed in a relationship, especially with somebody of a different culture, is you have to, for me, this is my own opinion. I know you two guys got your own opinion, and I know my wife's got her own opinion too, but you have to have a lot of patience, and you have to be able to bend, and because there's a lot of shit that they do that's a lot different from what we do, and we don't quite understand it, but we really need to, so that is the main thing, is have understanding and not to be so set in your ways, because when you're here or when you're married to somebody of a different culture, you're going to experience a whole different thought process, just a lot of different things, and you've got to, you've got to bend and they've got to bend, and that's what makes the relationship work. What do you think, Spencer? What's your 2 cents?
Can you tie them up?
Oh, I don't
No,
know.
I mean, I don't know. If you want to tie a wife, go out to the villages with a bag of rice and a chicken. You'll find you one.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
No, I actually, I've never been married to an American woman. My first wife was British, and my second wife is Thai. So, I kind of avoid the American gals.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, based on on what you just said. Did you, with the other woman that you were married to, did you find some of the same problems that you had, or the same things that you ran into when you're, as far as your Thai wife is concerned? Because they're two different cultures.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, maybe I was under the impression that the British were like American women, but they're not. They're different. We speak the semi-similar language, I guess you could say, but no, I mean, they got their own thinking and mindset, just like anybody else.
Yeah.
Just like I mean, there's a significant difference between a Thai wife and a British wife, that's for sure. But
yeah,
a lot different than why am I avoiding USA girls? It's because at my age, they either have 3 or 4 rugrats running around looking for a baby's daddy, or they just, all they do is they just complain about their ex-husbands all the time. And I didn't want that, so here I am.
I can't knock it. I mean, I've been married 19 years. I've been married 3 times. This is my 3rd wife. My first wife I was married to for 10 years. Second wife I was married to for 14 years, and Alec and I, we were 19. We'll be 19. Well, we were 19 years in July, June or July, and I'm happy. I'm happy. Now, like I said, it took a lot of understanding, and I think one of the things that helped me a lot was the fact that she had been to the U.S. for 6 years and lived with me there and saw how things were over there, and that made her kind of understand why I'm the way I am. And and two, I found the same thing when I moved here. And seeing how things are now, I know kind of the reasons that she has the things that does some of the things that she does or thinks the way that she does. So I think that helped us both. But who knows? What do you think, Charlie?
When I went up to visit you in the hospital, I mean, I've been out with you in the past, for nicer events. But when I visited you in the hospital, it was there that I got just how much of a couple you are. She finishes your sentences for you. It's like
when I'm on drugs.
You're like a totally married couple without a doubt.
Yeah.
I was actually, I don't know Spencer as well as I know you, but I know he's married, and that's so when I saw the topic that you wanted to talk about tonight, I was like, I got these two married guys who've made commitments to women. How am I going to present myself in this conversation about relationships? And I'm going to tell a story about a video that I saw when I was asking this question. And it's a great metaphor for how I feel about relationships in general, not just here in Thailand, but anywhere. And what this was a professor. It was a short video of a professor from Stanford University. He taught business, and he was talking about one of his students. And apparently this is a very big class, one of those big, huge classes that they have in some colleges. And he said that this one student, an excellent student who had his own business that he was running, an online business that he was running, raised his hand and said, I need to ask a personal question that's not completely related to business. And the professor said, the whole class got quiet because they wanted to hear this personal story. He said, the problem that I have is that I have an online business. Now, this online business is hugely successful. This undergraduate business student figured out some way online to make an online product that hedge funds use to lower their costs. That's all the details he gave. And apparently it worked. He got some attention. And in the time that he's had this business, he's had $5 million in income on an online business that he does from his dorm room as an undergraduate at Stanford. And this is what he has going on business-wise. Now, his question was about his fiance. He says, my fiance said to me that if I don't give her more attention and spend more time with her, she's going to break up with me. He goes, and I'm really upset about it. He goes, because I do love her. He said, and I'm trying to make a decision about what I should do with this conundrum. And this is what the professor said. He said, well, let's look at the situation from a very logical perspective. He said, what's more easy to replace? Everybody started laughing. A $5 million online business or a fiance? And I just I literally laughed out loud watching that, because that's kind of how I feel about relationships, especially here in Asia. I was 60 years old when I flew into Singapore on a work contract 13 years ago. That's what brought me to Asia. And at that point in my life, I had my last romantic relationship had been ended months before. And I was just okay with that part of my life coming to a close. I figured, I'm 60 and I've done well there and I'm happy. Maybe it's just time for me to be happy, by myself, which I am. I live happily without relationships when I'm in that state. And then I got to Asia and that all opened up again. I found, these cute 30-year-olds are like, hey, buddy, they chase you down the street in some places. And I was like, wow, there's a whole different world of women here. And that reopened for me in the 13 years that I've been in Asia. But I'm not real big on committed relationships, not because I've just ended a month ago. It was a month ago tomorrow that I ended my relationship with the Buakau. I moved out, and that actually went well. We're still on a very friendly terms and stuff, and staying in touch. And I've visited her 4 times since we've broke up. Went out to dinner with her and her kids. I love her kids. They're, they grew up under my roof. and I was with her 7 years, but of those 7 years, like 4 of them were more of a business relationship. When COVID came, we got a little closer because I stayed in Thailand just to take care of them, because she had worked for me and I wanted to take care of them. It was the right thing to do. And now she's prospered over the last couple of years, the last 3 years since then. She's done very well, and she's put some money aside. What I don't like to give up is I'm not. And Bill mentioned the compromise. I don't think that's something unique to an overseas relationship. If you want a committed relationship, it requires compromise, and I'm not that compromising on certain issues. It's like I like my single life. I was married a long time ago, and I like being able to go out and hang out with my friends or take a trip somewhere, off to Chiang Mai or Vietnam or wherever it is that I want to go, and not get any pushback from it. And what was happening is if I did that kind of thing, I went out one day and I was out the whole day, and I found out the reason for it. I went to Soy Cowboy, not to chase the women. I know a guy there who manages the dollhouse, and he invited me there to shoot a video. They were lighting up a new sign, Soy Cowboys full of neon lights, and they were putting up a new neon sign. So I went and took a video of that. I had a couple of Cokes and talked with the owner of the bar and the bar manager and stayed for, I don't know, maybe an hour, and then went home. And that was it. And I went home that night. She was sitting there in the bed all pouty. And I'm like, is she tracking my locations? Because I know that's what happened. She somehow knew that I was at Soy Cowboy, and it pissed her off. And that was pretty much the end of it, because I don't need to explain to anybody. First of all, I'm not cheating on her. And I don't need to explain to anybody what I want to do. I later found out her sister sells food. She's a street food vendor, and they were near Soy Cowboy that night, and they saw me. So I don't have to shut the tracking off on my phone. But it's not the first time something like this has happened. And I was like, you know what? If I'm in a committed relationship with her, a marriage, she has a right to know what I'm doing. That's
Exactly.
and I don't want to give her that right. It's like so. Here I am in a new apartment.
Well, there's got to be a trust issue in there too. I mean, she's not your ex-girlfriend, but women in general, they've got to trust the guy just like the guy's got to trust the woman.
Exactly.
I mean, there's got to be some trust in there. I mean, if you don't trust them, then that means that you're not honestly committed to the relationship because you're having doubts about them.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you go to Soy Cowboy and she knows that you're a YouTube video guy and you do all kinds of videos and stuff, that you're going there for a project and not to mess around. I mean, she should trust you with that.
That's one of the things that I do find unique about Asian women, or at least Thai women and Filipino women and Vietnamese women. I've been in relationships with all women from all 3 countries, and they all have jealousy issues. And I can kind of understand that, because it's easy to find new ones. Like the professor said, which is harder to start a new business or find a new fiance?
And there's a reason for that too.
A lot easier to find the new fiance or whatever.
I think there's a reason for that feeling, because they know how easy it is for, I mean, let's face it, you throw a hook out there and you're going to catch 5 fish, a foreigner in Thailand, and they don't want to lose what they've got. And like my wife has said many times, she goes, these women are, they're ruthless as far as stealing your husband or your boyfriend. They don't care, and I think that's one of the reasons why, there's so much jealousy or so much, checking on you. I mean, and that's just the way it is. I mean, I don't know. I personally have not had it happen, but I know that it's there.
But in Charlie's case, I mean, her jealousy and her wanting to control what he does cost a relationship.
Sure it does. Sure it does.
Here's the thing. Well, it's not the first time something like that happened. She had a dream that I was sleeping with her sister, and she woke up like that. She woke up.
Yeah, see, that's
it just something in the dream. Not that it'd be a nice thing to sleep with a sister, but I wouldn't do that.
Right.
I don't think a sister would either, but she's kind of cute. But nonetheless, getting to the point is that, these jealousy, this is not the first time something like that has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And to be reasonable, were she my wife and I was committed to that, keeping that relationship working, I would have let her know beforehand what I was doing and where I was going and all that
Sure.
other stuff. I had all day. I had, brunch with one friend, lunch, dinner with another. And then, like at 9 o'clock at night, I went off to Soy Cowboy to take the video. So I've been gone from 9 o'clock in the morning to near midnight, with no explanation. And, that's not a good husband. That's not good husband material. I mean, it's like it's reasonable for a woman who's in a committed relationship to want better communication than that. And so, I wasn't angry with her. I was a little annoyed, but it's like I'm just not willing to give that up. That's my single life, and my relationship with this woman was based on other things. We did get close after the COVID thing, but I've never made her any promises or told her that I was going to stay with her forever and ever, or any of that good stuff. And and if ever she complained about me and anything I did, I would say to her, I said, you need to find a new boyfriend. That would always end the argument, because she knew when I said that I wasn't joking. It's like, if there's something about me that you're unhappy with, you need to find a new boyfriend.
Right.
I had a guy I met through, photography guy through my YouTube, some social media contact, right? And I met him here and had lunch with him. Nice guy, right? And he was just coming through on vacation. He went back to his home in San Francisco. Now he's coming back here, and he started asking me advice about an online relationship that he had gotten. I hadn't met the woman in person yet, and he's already dealing with jealousy issues, and the jealousy is coming from him at this point, right? And that's what I told him. I said, what you need to do first, I said, first of all, if you think she's fooling around, she probably is. Presume that. There's no way to tell one way or the other. I said, just presume that she is. And number two is, what you need to do before you even meet this woman is get to a point where you realize that you're the prize, that you are the prize here. And that she's like that fiance in the Stanford students class. She's very easily replaced. And until you get that notion in your mind, a lot of new guys coming here don't seem to realize that you have value in the States too, but it's not acknowledged.
Different here.
If you have an income, if you're a stable guy and you're not some kind of a weirdo drunk or something, you're a prize.
Yeah.
And put that in your head when you come here.
Yeah.
And that's odd, because you see a lot of guys that commit suicide jumping off balconies and stuff because of some woman,
Bar girl.
When, like Bill said, he could just throw another line out there and catch 5 more.
Yeah. I mean, it's the truth. But I mean, this is where it comes back to. You said something that really kind of hits it. Is trust. And in the last video that I put up, I was talking about how my friend got cleaned out, and the people kept saying, well, he shouldn't have given her bank account numbers, but he trusted her, and he was into the relationship enough that he felt comfortable doing that, and I ended up biting him in the ass, but that's kind of the way it goes. But my feelings are that if you can't trust, you shouldn't be with the person, And it's the same way with any kind of relationship. If you don't trust the person that you're in the relationship with, I'm not going to be married to a woman that I got to follow around all the time, or I got to look at her phone, or I got to do this, or I got to do that. And I don't want to have a partner or a wife or a girlfriend or anybody that has to do the same thing, that feels like they have to do the same thing, because it's just not. It's not comfortable. And, Charlie, I think you're exactly right in what you did and your feelings, because there was no need for her to check up on you, and it just, I can get your point, 100%.
If it was the first time, I probably would have let it slide, but it wasn't. It's happened, similar situations have come up over the last, and it's like, I'm done. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
I reached my point.
So I guess the difference is like with me, it's like I enjoy being with my wife. She's my best
Yeah, I do
friend.
too. Yeah, yeah, mine too.
You know, so it's like
Yeah.
wherever
That's
I
fine.
go, I want her to go with me, and
Mm-hmm.
vice versa.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I give her freedom. If she needs to go get stuff done, I get her hair done. I'm not going to follow her there and stuff like that. But if I go out, I want her to be with me, and it's because I enjoy being with her.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
So there's a difference.
Yeah.
So Spencer, you're a military veteran, obviously.
I
You
am.
talk about. Yeah, are you a combat vet?
Sort of. I was in Desert Storm and Desert Shield.
Yeah, that counts.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. The
Yeah.
reason I asked is because when you mentioned the suicide guy, I have a story to tell, but it's kind of like fireman black humor, and I know cops do that. So Bill has heard this kind of stuff before, and so do bad guys. Like we tell really, like dark stories and laugh about them, and that's what your story about the people, guys that come here and get hooked up with even with bar girls and Patia, and then their hearts are broken and they
Yeah.
kill themselves afterwards. It's just crazy.
Mhm.
There's one story that happened here. Terminal 21 is a shopping mall, and it has a 6-story atrium, big open space that has escalators going up around the side and go all the way up the top. Takes your breath away. I mean, you look over, whoa, and see all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, Italian tourist came, not tourist, but he's an Italian guy, came to Thailand, and he hooked up with a patio bar girl and was with her for how long it was, and she dumped him. She dumped his ass, and he was heartbroken. And he came here to Bangkok and went up to the 7th story in there and jumped to his death in the atrium of Terminal 21, this busy shopping mall. And what I found humorous about it is on where he landed on this marble floor 7 stories down, they had a display of the solar system, these big decals of the sun and the different planets, 7 or 8 planets, however many we have these days. And he landed on Venus.
Venus. And that's the woman's planet, isn't it?
It's the goddess of love.
Yeah, there you go.
Venus is the goddess of love. So he had a fitting end. He and Venus went out together. Like I said, that's kind of black humor, and there's probably people shutting off the video now after that. But, cops and soldiers get it.
Yeah,
I was actually a cop in the military, so I got it doubly.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There are some people that should not come to Thailand, and obviously
for sure.
he was one of them.
Yeah.
It just they say there's one that gets off the plane every 30 seconds, and it's about true. But
yeah,
somebody like that needs to stay in their home country if they're that distraught about something like that. It just doesn't make any sense. But, it happens a lot. Happens a lot.
I was going to say I was going to tell you a story here that I probably haven't told anybody very much. Was the fact that when I first went to China, I was actually working for Cherry Blossoms. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
No.
It's a mail order bride company.
Okay.
Out of New York, and my boss was a ex-Navy guy who owned it out of Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And when I was in China, he hired me to set up tours for guys to come over there to meet Chinese women.
Okay.
And then, obviously they were looking for wives, but this whole thing, I'm not going to go into detail about what it involved in China, but the point of the story is the fact that a lot of these guys fall in love with these women online, and then they come over here and they're bamboozled out of their money, or it's not what they think it is. It's an agency that's working for the woman, and he never even speaks to the woman the whole time he was chatting with what he thought was her. So it takes a strong heart to come here and be able to accept that you might have got screwed to begin with, and just move on from it and not freaking balcony dive. So
I feel bad for some of these guys. I mean, there are men that for whatever reason have had difficulty in relationships in their home country, the United States, Great Britain, Australia, all the first world kind of countries, and whatever reason, they wind up in Asia, here in Thailand or the Philippines or Vietnam or even Singapore to a certain degree, although Singapore less so because it's such a wealthy place. But the and they become a target. They become the prize for these Asian women, sometimes young, beautiful Asian women, who see them as a source of security for themselves and their family. And now, if that's the truth, if a woman's just doing that because there's a financial underpinning to a relationship, doesn't mean you can't have a good relationship. As a matter of fact, I would argue that is pretty much the underpinning of all relationships. But there are also scammers too, by the dozens, especially potty or bar girls and that kind of thing. I'm going to go play there, fine, go have a good time, but remember the character of the women that you're dealing with in these places. Some of them are professional scam artists, and they can take these vulnerable men who have had difficulties in their romantic relationships, and they come here and they feel like a king. They just like the guy I was telling you about, that he has to learn that he's the prize. He hasn't learned it. He's it's a long story. I don't want to go down that road, but the emotional draw that is present for some men is like the Italian guy who, when he lost it, he lost a bar girl. God, you could have rented a busload from half a year. It's like, what's wrong? It's like, but they don't get. It takes them a while to get there. So the first expat stage, I call it, the stages of expats, and if you're in that first play in that entry level, anything that you think is real, it probably isn't. It's be wary and cautious, and because you could, first of all, if you get heartbroken, don't worry about it. That will heal in a couple of days, and you can go find another.
Yeah,
easily and quickly. Put the word out; they'll chase you.
Yeah, that's a shame. They come over here and then they lose it. They lose their minds. I thought, a lot of them do.
If you're looking for a wife, or a long-term relationship, probably the best thing to do is just avoid the bars or the bar girls. I'm not saying that they're all bad. Some of them are probably pretty good-hearted people, but for the most part, those girls are looking to make money and support their families back home.
Some of them have husbands.
Yeah, some of them have husbands.
Yeah, boyfriends too. Yeah. Some of them have many foreign husbands too.
Yeah, and there are some bar girls that have husbands that sit in these video game places all day long, and she's out making the money. He doesn't care how she does it as long as she supports him.
Yeah.
But the best thing to do is just avoid these bar girls. You can interact with women in other ways in Thailand without going to the bars.
Yeah. It just.
I get
asked that question a lot. How do I meet somebody? Well, the best thing to do is just get out and walk around. Go to the mall. Just go do
coffee
your regular
shops,
life things.
Yeah.
And you're going to run into somebody. You don't. All the single women are not working in the bars.
Right.
You don't need to be in the bars if you want to find a wife. I know some guys that are married to bar girls that are real happy, have got decent relationships. But I also know a few that, have really had some hard times.
Most of the ones I've heard about had hard times.
Yeah.
Or dead.
There's more hard times than better ones.
Yeah.
But you have to realize too that. And I'm going to do a video on what I'm about to say, but when you're 65 years old and you marry a woman that's 25 years old, you've got to think a little bit. It's your wife behind you.
Yeah.
Did she get her hair cut?
She did. She's my tomboy now.
I like that. That's cool.
Yeah. She's a tomboy now.
She changed the color too. I like that. Yeah. But, when you get into a relationship like that.
Don't say anything bad about me.
I won't.
you have
I
to.
said some
you have-
really nice stuff about you.
Yeah, he said
Yeah.
really good about you.
Yeah, he was talking good.
You know, the guy has to understand that you know, part of the attraction is going to be, you know, your wallet, and that, I mean, plain and simple. Uh, you know, that's just how it is. But you know, my thing is, if you're going to marry a younger girl, you need to understand that that's part of the thing. But you know, one of the things that you have to think about too is what after you're gone. You know, I mean, what's she going to do? You know, I mean, how's she going to support herself? You know, if you're married to somebody for a good many years, you know, after the age of 30 or 35, woman's not going to get a job here. You know, I mean, it's just the way it is. So, you know, that's something that you've got to think about. And, you know, I don't know. You know, I just there's a lot of stuff that you know, when you're marrying somebody that young, there's a lot of things that you have to think about. And you know, you're leaving yourself open. Somebody behind them.
Yeah, there's your wife.
Let the time go by.
Yeah.
Get old.
Go find a young wife.
I think I'm black. You're not going to see anybody sneaking up behind me.
No, you just got the window.
Yeah, what is amazing is your curtain actually matches my shirt.
You know, it's close. It's real close.
It is. I
These
keep
are
looking at
really
it and I'm like, dang, that's almost the same material.
It's a really small
Oh.
apartment, and I've been playing with the setup here. But I'm hoping that people can see the BTS running up and down the line.
I
behind
do, yeah. I see the red
Okay.
lights out there. Yeah.
me. That was the thing here. The urban background. That's
That's
I've been taking Thai language lessons. I'm trying to improve my.
right.
And I'm sorry I can't remember what these phrases are, but it just cracked me up when she was telling me that there's particular phrases that a Thai woman does the work, a Thai man sits.
Mhm.
I mean, it's built into their culture.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey, let's get in here for a minute.
It's like, you know, the Thai woman does the work.
Mhm.
Thai man sits. I'll have it next week. I memorized it today. Now I forgot it, but it's like a saying, and you know, in Thai, it's a, you know, what do you call that? A saying, you know,
No, I'm just teasing. She come in.
But Thai women are very hardworking people, though. I mean,
Oh yeah.
they're very industrious. I mean, they do everything that you would think that they would do. I mean, I don't want to sound like a male chauvinist, which I probably am gonna, but I mean, like here we don't have really dishwashers that are common or ovens or things like that. But the women here, they wash the dishes by hand, and they clean, and they take care of their husbands and all that stuff. I mean, they work hard.
That's what it was. The Thai woman does the housework. Thai
Yeah.
woman does the housework. Thai man sits. Found that to be true. I mean, I'm used to taking care of myself. I've been single a long time. I don't care about laundry and dishes, and I don't need a woman to do that. But if I tried to do that stuff when I was with Boo, I could. At first, I thought it was amusing, but then I began to realize that it was a point of personal pride for her to be in charge of the household. You know, and if it became a joke, if I got up and started washing dishes, it'd be like, "Don't call the kitchen police." You know, it's like. It's like she truly got upset if I tried to do housework, so it is just a culture. That's one of the cultural differences. I mean, in other countries, it'll be like, hey, why aren't you doing the dishes?
You see, the gentleman says this is true all over the world, but it's not. I mean, I've been all over the world. I've been all over Europe and most of Asia, and it's not the same. They're two completely different cultures, and their mindsets are different.
Mm-hmm. I'll agree with you there. My thing about doing the dishes is I every once in a while I go do the dishes and I come back out. I look out. Lex redoing them. You don't do them right, so I stopped doing it. Okay, I just leave them in there. She has her own way of doing things, and I'm not gonna spoil that. That's for sure. But it's just like I said in the beginning, it's just there's so many things that you have to, that are different that you have to understand and have to go, not necessarily go along with it. You just have to understand that that's the way they do things here. That's their culture. That's their lifestyle, and that's the way it's going to be if you want a happy relationship.
You got to understand how important family is to people here.
Exactly, exactly, yeah.
And it's not like in the USA where it's like 18. It's like, okay, I'm leaving the house and I'm moving
Yeah.
out and being on my own. Here, I mean, even a single woman who's in her 30s or a guy that's in his 30s will still be living with his parents.
Yeah.
It might be weird compared to American sense, but here it's not, because they have, they have it ingrained in them. They must take care of their family, their mother, their father, the brothers, sisters, whatever.
Mhm.
I think that's more an economic difference than a cultural difference.
You think so?
Yeah. It's. I have two grown daughters back in the States, and they do better than I do. They're both, they're married. They both have two children, and between them and their husbands, they've accumulated. They're upper middle class. They have houses and cars and all the other stuff. So they can afford to be independent. And whereas in countries like Thailand, outside of the rich areas of Bangkok, it's and other places around the world as well. It's necessary for family. The family is the economic unit. So they're required to support each other from an economic standpoint. And like I said, just because something has an economic underpinning doesn't mean there isn't a cultural and emotional, layers on top of it. And there is, but the economic underpinning is there. And in the United States and other first world countries, European countries and Australia and Singapore, places like that. Although Singapore, they still have that close family kind of thing. They tend to live together longer. But they don't have the retirement system.
Yeah.
They don't really hear either. I mean, what does somebody in retirement make here? 60 baht a month, friggin' 600 baht a month.
600 baht a month they get.
600
Crazy.
baht a month.
Absolutely crazy. There's no way that they can live on that.
No.
Between my fire department pension, my Social Security, my 401k, and another annuity that I contributed to while I was working, I'm taking in more money after taxes than I had when I was working. I'm the most prosperous I've been in my life, and I haven't worked in 20 years. Well, I had the yoga studio, but that was but I didn't make a lot of money at that. So that's a first world situation. Where does the 7-year-old guy have the checkers in the mail to a point where I'm an upper middle class guy here in Bangkok? So it's like, if I didn't have that, maybe I'd have to go back to Pennsylvania and live with my daughter, which is where I stay when I go to the States. It's like that kind of thing.
Hey, and you figure like what's the average wage here? Like 15,000 a month if you're in the city, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a whole lot of money. I mean, that's less than $300 a month that they are making on a monthly basis trying to survive by. Then we come over here, like you said, on a pension or whatever, and we make 5 times that, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good security for them to be with a foreigner, I guess, but
I had
you just got to find one that's true to heart.
I had a little moment of gratitude about that just recently. A guy that I met here that was one of my yoga students pre-COVID. He came from Southern California, and for some reason or other, I thought he was in the movie business. He wasn't. He's an engineer from Florida, actually. He just has a place in Southern California as well. He's wealthy. He has a lot of money, and you can figure, you kind of get that from people. They give off a vibe. This guy, had money, and he didn't talk about it. I could just tell. Well, he came in, post-COVID, and on. He came back. He was having dinner with me back at my old place, and which he was really grateful for. We had like the salted fish and a lot of Thai stuff, and he was just loving it, right? So he's loosening up a little bit. And I finally asked him. I said, "Are you wealthy?" He goes, "I'm okay," that kind of thing. I said, and he's not in the movie business. That's what I thought. He's an engineer and that kind of stuff. And we started talking about that kind of thing. And he's a younger guy. I think he's about 50-ish. and he still does some online consulting, that kind of thing. But he's done pretty well for himself. Now here's a guy who's wealthy. He has homes all over the United States and cars and stuff, and he's doing well by U.S. standards. And we were talking, and I mentioned to him what my income was from all those things that I just mentioned, which is, fairly substantial for Thailand. In the United States, it'd be like middle class, right? And his eyes bugged out. He goes, "You get that every month?" I said, "Yeah, pretty much for the rest of my life, unless, New York City goes bankrupt." Yeah. And he was like just so impressed with that number that I have as pension income, as fixed income that's floating in until I pass on to Venus the way the Italian guy did. And it, like, I knew that. It wasn't like this was new information for me, but when I saw the reaction of a truly wealthy guy as to the value of that, it made me grateful. It kind of underscored the really fortunate position that I'm in. So yeah, I have a lot of gratitude for that. I don't take it for granted. I mean, I can make the argument, well, I earned it, I saved, I invested, all that, yeah, blah, yada, yada, yada. I was lucky enough to be born in the United States with something like that as a possibility. And, over the course of my life, I've had as much good luck as I've been fortunate as I've had good ideas. Let's put it that way. And maybe, it's like, I'm talking into a $3,000 camera. That's what, 6 months wage or several months wage for a lot of people here.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's true. That's true.
That's why we are a commodity. It's in a sense.
Excuse me.
I'm not going to give out your address, Charlie, because they'll be beating down your door. But in two, and I hear it all the time, and I see it a lot. Driving down the street, and you go by and I call them these little bamboo bars that open up around 5 o'clock, and they're packed. And we'll go by, and Lek will be on the back of the motorbike. They're spending all their money in the bars, and and a lot of them do. A lot of them, my wife will tell me, they go to work, and they after work they go to the bar and spend all their money, and the woman's left back at the house taking care of the kids and trying to support the family. And so that's another one of the reasons why foreigners are so popular here, because a lot of us are not, we don't hang out at the bamboo bars, and we take care of things. But, that seems to be the difference there. I don't know. It's just I think we provide a little bit more security and probably a little bit better lifestyle than what they would normally have. And I'm not saying that's always the case. There are some Thai men out there that work their ass off and take care of their family. I know one guy. He's got 3 jobs. He's got 2 kids, wife, and he's just a great guy. He works 3 different jobs, taking care of his family, and he's done it for years. So they're not all like that, but there's quite a few of them that are. And I'll tell you an example. There was a place where we used to go eat, and there was an older lady there that cooked, and then her son kind of helped. He was kind of moving around, and then his daughter-in-law was kind of the waitress. And they had a pretty good business going. And he basically, the son, he just kind of boogered off. And finally, just took off and ended up getting another girl pregnant. Left his wife, and he's got a kid that he's got to take care of, and doesn't. That's kind of the things that happen here. And I mean, his wife was a hard worker. She worked hard, and his mother worked hard. So it's rough to see something like that.
The Playboy mentality here is kind of
Playboy. That's it. Yeah, I see him now. I got no respect for him. Absolutely none.
I'm sure Charlie's got some Playboy shirts with a little bunny logo on it, and probably got it on his license plate around his car and stuff. But yeah, the Playboy mentality is kind of high. But so domestic abuse is kind of high here too.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah, that's one thing. If you're watching this and you come here and you see domestic abuse going on, don't get involved in it because uh, you won't. It's hard as it's to walk away from it and look the other way. If you get involved in it, you're going to have problems. Now, if it's a foreigner, not so much. But if you see a Thai man smacking his wife or something like that, and you get involved in it, I mean, even the cops don't get involved in it. You're allowed to get a knife stuck in you by not only him, possibly the woman as well. I personally have not seen it yet, so I don't know. But I've just gone by what my wife has told me, and what I've read, that you just don't get involved in stuff like that. Have you seen any of it, Spencer, since you've been here? Actually happen?
Well, my wife has a friend who was beaten by her husband quite a bit, and he basically entrapped her on a place way out in the middle of nowhere where she was just forced to take care of his invalid mom.
Mm-hmm.
While he was a truck driver or something, and he would just go away, and she was just forced out there with her son just to take care of the guy's mom who couldn't even feed herself. But he'd come back and get mad at her and beat her ass and whatever. And finally, and this girl has a college degree. Finally, she just got away, which is good for her.
That's the best thing they
Took her
can
son
do.
and fled, but it happens quite a bit.
There was one lady that lived in the Mubon that I lived in, and she was married to a foreigner. And I don't remember. I remember seeing him a couple times, but anyway, I saw her a couple times with a black eye, and she finally went to the police. The police went over there and paid him a visit, and basically told him the next time they came, he was going to take a little ride, and it stopped it. But that's the only time that I've ever heard them get involved in it. I don't think they'll get involved in it if it's a Thai guy. I don't know.
Yeah, they tend not to, I don't think.
Yeah, and that's what my wife said. My wife said, they just, if you call them, they'll come out and say, well, that's just two people getting in an argument. Back in the States, when I was working, if we got called to a house where domestic assault was going on, somebody was going to jail. Somebody would go to jail.
Yeah.
Not just one time, every time. If we could go out and prove that an assault actually occurred, it was actually the law after the O.J. Simpson case. It was the law that if we could determine that one spouse hit the other spouse, the striking spouse was mandatory. We had to take them to jail. We didn't have any choice at all.
But that's the worst kind of scenario to be in as a cop, is going to a domestic abuse, especially when they're in a physical altercation. Because as a cop, you don't want to get involved with that, because who knows if you're going to get stabbed or shot or whatever.
Exactly,
so you kind of just try to do some verbal judo on them and leave them alone until they can separate them.
And unfortunately, that the laws now, the way they're written, there's no officer discretion at all. It is in stone that if you go to a house and you can tell that somebody's got a bruised eye or a split lip or something like that, the aggressor is going to jail. It's mandatory, and it's just the way it is. It created a lot of problems, and basically you were the prosecutor when it went to court. And if the woman came in and said no, it didn't, I don't want to prosecute, it didn't make any difference. We were the prosecutors, but it made it rough. And they also made it too in the state of Tennessee. If you got arrested for domestic assault or any kind of domestic abuse, you couldn't have a handgun. And there are quite a quite a few cops that worried about their jobs a couple times because, you know, it had happened.
Yeah, I remember reading a story about it here where a guy had gone to the bar, he get drunk. I guess he does it every night. Came home and his wife was so mad at him, she shot him. Didn't kill him, just shot him
Yeah,
because she had made dinner and got everything, and he didn't come home.
yeah,
So she blasted him when he came in the door, but he didn't want to press charges against her when the cops arrived.
yeah. Crazy stuff, crazy stuff.
Yeah,
And you know, the law enforcement up here is so much different than it is in the United States.
yeah,
It's more, you know, the cops here and the things that they do is more, there's a lot more administrative discretion put into, you know, who goes to jail and who doesn't, who goes to court and who doesn't. You know, a lot of times they'll put two people in a room and let them talk it over, and you know, they'll exchange a little bit of money, and then, you know, somebody will go home, everybody will go home, and everything's done. You know, it's not like in the U.S. where, you know, you go in and you know, sign a complaint against somebody, and then next thing you know, they're getting locked up and going to jail.
I actually got how one of those tiers function. Those you get arrested for abuse tiers. Remember that earlier in the podcast, I was talking about the dream. My book, I thought I had a dream that I was sleeping with her.
Right.
Well, that sister, non she is cute, but she had a boyfriend. She had this. He was big old chubby guy. He's a, you know, old obese, kind of good natured Thai guy, and you know, I've been in his company a couple of times. I kind of liked him, and he did his best to work. I mean, he didn't have a lot of education. He'd go out and do construction and that kind of stuff. He didn't make a lot of money, but you know, and I've been up to the country with him. He drank too much and he smoked pot too much. You know, he's kind of a likable guy. I like him. One day, one night, it was like in the middle of the night, Buakow wakes me up and asks me, what 800 baht? You have 800 baht? I said, yeah, what do you need 800 baht for? She goes, I gotta go get so-and-so. I gotta remember his name. I gotta go get him out of the Tung Law police station. Apparently, they were out somewhere and some guy made a remark about Nong Pe, his girlfriend, made an unkind remark of some sort, and the boyfriend belted him. Boom! Knocked him on his ass. I said, really? I said, he did that? I was just so surprised. He didn't seem like the type of guy that would do that. You know, I was like, and I liked that. You know, he insulted his girlfriend. Boom! He took the guy out. Right? Boom! Gave him a black eye, and down he went. So they take both of them off to the Tong Law police station. And that's the agreement. You know, is 800 baht. I don't know who the 800 baht went to. So the victim, or maybe they split it between them. I didn't get those details, but you know, Buakow gave her the 800 baht, and off she went to. And what's that? That's about $25, right? So we're talking about $25 it costs to bail him out of the police station before it got into the judicial system. Once you get out of the police station, then it gets more complicated.
You
know, you go in and they negotiated this fee, and you know, I say 800 baht. Hell, you know, hit him again. Get another 800.
Well, I can tell you what I think it was. It was a 500 baht fine, and then 300 went in somebody's pocket.
Yeah, probably.
That's what it is up here. It's 500. If you hit somebody and you go to the police station, pay 500 baht. So somebody got 300 baht out of it.
Okay.
Don't know who, but somebody did. But,
I was kind of impressed that the guy that had that kind of gumption. He didn't look like a, you know, I'm going to pop you in the eye kind of guy.
That's funny. I wanted to date a Thai woman. There's plenty of them over here.
He says women. He wants to date women. Lots of women.
Woman, yeah.
That's where you get in trouble there when you got a lot of girlfriends.
Man.
Yeah, they're competitive.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, jealous.
Yeah, don't have them in the bars, and you'll be pretty well off. But excuse me, I'm yawning. But you know, there's just so much shit you can get into that if you really don't do your homework over here, you can get in a bind, and you can do your homework and still get in a bind. I mean, my buddy that got ripped off, and bless his heart, he's a good-hearted guy. He's been in Thailand a lot longer than I have. He's traveled, you know, had businesses and things like that. And, you know, it happened to him. You know, he got hoodooed. And, but, you know, when you go back to it, and he trusted her. You know, he didn't think that that was going to happen to him. And I can tell you, you know, I mean, I've met her and I've been around her. She's a nice person. I was shocked. I was shocked, but it happened. You know.
Hey, you know, something occurred to me with the story of your friend and
Yeah.
his. They're not married, correct?
No,
Okay, so whose name was that bank account in?
I don't know. I didn't ask him.
Because it was in his.
I would assume it was in his.
So
Because
if he
he'd have to also use that for his visa. So
okay,
I
so
would
if
assume it
he
was
took
in his.
money that was in his bank account, he could involve the police in that.
He could, but I know. But well, in the situation, when he figured it out, it was too late. He was already, I think he was already in Vietnam when he figured out what exactly happened. So in order to do that, he would have to come back here and
come back, yeah.
file a report or something. But I know him well enough to know that he would not do that. He would eat it and just move on. But
It's funny when
yeah,
you told me, of course, Bill, you know this, but for the viewers, when Bill told me this story, I guess about 5 weeks ago, because I was planning on moving out probably a month tomorrow on the 6th. So you told me this story, you know, a few days prior to that. I was like, oh man, I went and changed the pin on my ATM card.
I remember you doing that.
But when
Yeah.
I tried that, I didn't, you know, you don't know what to expect under these circumstances. When you now say,
Exactly.
you know, they sometimes lose their mind. Now, I'm grateful that that didn't happen. We still have a relationship, but I would leave her when I would go, because I'd go for 2 months at a time. I'd go back to the States and I'd be gone for 8, sometimes up to 10 weeks. And, you know, I have to pay my bills. I have to pay my rent. I have to pay the phone bill. I have to, you know, pay all the bills. And, you know, I do that through the ATM card for my Bangkok bank account. So I would just leave her my ATM card so she can make those transactions for me. Now, I'm presuming, you know, she would give me the card back and there's no way to copy them. But nonetheless, when you told me that story, I was like, ooh, I hope I changed my password in case.
Well, you never know. You know, you never know when something like that's going to happen. And you know, I'm sure he definitely did not expect it, or he would have taken the money with him. I think what his plan was, you know, he had a debit card. He was going to use that debit card to draw money out to get to where he was going, and you know, have a little bit there because you know he couldn't take it with him. And then soon enough, he figured out that oops, he doesn't have any money, and you know, by then it was too late to change his passport or anything like that. So I don't know. I don't think the last chapter is written yet, but you know, like I said, I know him, and I know he would never involve the police to get her in any kind of trouble like that or do anything like that. As far as I know, he's just not the type of very you know very generous person, and I don't think that he left her in a bad situation. Although I didn't ask, and it's none of my business. I know him well enough to know that I doubt that he would do that. So, you know, I don't know. You know, it's something I'm not going to dig too deep into. It's none of my business. I did ask him if it was okay to tell the story, and he was you know, he was okay with it. So that's pretty much what I did. But you know, you've got to, when you have all your apples in one basket, make sure you have a few that you stick back in your pocket. You know, if you get into a relationship with a woman, I mean, you know, that could wipe me out. I mean, she could do it. I don't. You know, I'm married. I've been married to her for 19 years. If I can't trust her, then I shouldn't be married to her. But you know, I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, in my opinion, whatever I've got's hers anyway. So you know, it's just the way it is. But you know, it's just one of those things that happen. Well, people, we have been on here for an hour. Is anybody got any questions that they want to ask before we go? And oops, did something wrong there. But you know, I appreciate everybody coming in and watching the video, and hopefully we'll be here next week, and I'll pass it along. But anyway, we'll see y'all later. Bye bye.
Bye bye now.